I'm back.
I was so worried you were gone for so long. Did you bring anything? You find any food?
Actually, I did. Remember that car underneath the Tesco's?
Yeah.
Found a crisp. That zombie who was walking funny outside the hospital. Pepperami. And inside the hospital, I found this in the medical waste bin, and I think it's cheese.
Queen, we can't eat any of this.
Look!
This is useless.
We'll have more luck tomorrow, okay?
We're running out of food and quickly.
I need some sleep.
What is this? What is this?
Oh, I was gonna tell
Do you know how irresponsible this is? It's another mouth to feed.
Paul, he needs our help. If we don't take in people like this, what do we become?
We don't have enough to feed more people, more survivors, Quins. He's going to breed, there'll be more. He'll hatch out of his pupae after his chrysalis stage and then deploy the legs.
And then he'll be useful.
It'll be eating us in a week. Vote to exile?
3, 2, 1. So, Shut Up and Sit Down will often try and sell you guys on a new game every week, which ultimately makes us feel like we're in The Wolf of Wall Street or Glengarry Glen Ross. Not so today, though. Dead of Winter is such an exciting game that it sells itself. And it's our job to tell you whether that's a good or bad thing. This is, in fact, such an exciting box. It just overflows with nice stuff. A beautiful board. All these standees that look like the cast from a film. Deck after deck after deck after deck after deck after decks of cards. And you'll need all of these things because Dead of Winter is a quite granular simulation of surviving a frozen zombie apocalypse with your friends. This central board is the hideout where all the players live, full of dwindling supplies and drama. These are all the locations you can visit, full of more supplies for you to scavenge. These guys are the zombies who will be tearing down your barricades, but you're going to be more scared of all of these guys, the survivors that you and your friends control, because not all of them are going to have your colony's best interests at heart.
In any given scenario in Dead of Winter, players might be desperately defending themselves against the zombie hordes, throwing up barricades, or actually preparing to leave for good, or maybe just struggling to feed all the helpless mouths of the tiny children who are clogging up the colony. Whatever the case, they'll all start with secret private equipment cards, and they'll all have a couple of characters who are part of their personal faction within the colony, and they'll all have a secret objective of some sort that they need to achieve. And one of them might be the betrayer, someone who doesn't want the colony to succeed and wants to head out on their own, fulfill their own objective. But muddying the waters here, I mean, sure, that person could be here and you want to exile them if they are, but muddying those waters is the fact that everyone's secret objective is just selfish anyway. Everyone has their own agenda, and you're hungry, you're cold, you're freezing, and maybe you just need a bit of extra fuel and some medicine and a little more food than everyone else. And a weapon. Maybe you just need that, and that's fine, and you're still working towards the colony interests. And maybe you love everyone, but you need 3 people to die. Maybe you need that. Maybe we all need that. Maybe we all sometimes need 3 people to die. Max Clifford, Rupert Murdoch.
Stop! Oh, it's enough to give you shivers. Speaking of which, let's start our discussion of how Dead of Winter actually plays with this die, Paul. This is the exposure die. We've done some tests and we think it might be the meanest dice we've ever encountered. The cruelty and theme of this die just sum up Dead of Winter, frankly. This is our homework. You roll this die whenever you travel anywhere or whenever you kill a zombie. Now, 6 faces are blank. 3 of them show a wound. You take 3 wounds, that character of yours is dead. 2 of the faces show frostbite symbols, and frostbite is a wound that causes another wound every single turn. And finally, there's this tooth. 1 in 12 chance of this happening. It means instant death with worse consequences because anyone else, even in that location, runs a risk of being bitten too. You don't even make the horrible decision yourself. You enforce it on someone else. They must make a decision of whether to kill that character, to commit suicide, or to roll the dice again, with a 50-50 chance that bite will keep going and keep spreading.
Like jam?
No, not like jam. Like
Not like
darkness when the sun has left us.
That means Dead of Winter is a game where potentially for your first action on your first turn, you might move one of your 2 characters to the grocery store to have a look at something and just have them immediately die. And that's okay. Because yes, legally that is one of your characters, but Dead of Winter is such a game about all of you hunkering down and sharing this horrible, stinky, fetid home together that it's a loss for all of you. You've lost a character, they've lost a companion, and you'll all be wincing, or at least you should be. You'll be staring down the faces of all your other players for that hint, that expression that betrays a flicker of a smile.
It's all about story, but it's also not about story because there's a great game going on here, mostly to do with these search decks. So throughout the game, you're working towards a main objective, but every single turn you have a crisis to deal with. For example, on this turn, it's illness. You need an amount of medicine equal to the number of non-exiled players. We'll get to exile later. So on your turn, as Loretta, you beg some gasoline off another player, allowing her to drive to the hospital without rolling the exposure die. She then starts spending action dice on her turn to search. You look at it, you go, it's not medicine, but it's useful, so I'll keep it. You spend your second action dice, the other players are looking at you, they're trusting you, quivering like a guitar string. It's not medicine, you say, but we should really hang on to this. You search a third time, you look at it. It's not medicine, guys. At this point, they're telling you to make noise. Making noise represents searching louder, faster, attracting potentially more zombies. You're risking yourself. You look at it, go, guys, it's not any medicine, but this is good. Now, let me paint the rest of this gory picture for you. In that example, every single card the player was looking at was medicine, but their secret objective is to stockpile medicine for the end of the game. So now here's another thing that's important. Crisis cards are put in secretly, and before it's revealed, it's shuffled. So on Loretta's turn, she puts in, say, 3 cards here. And other players maybe put in cards, and it's all shuffled. And then at the end of the turn, you go, that's good, we've got medicine. We've got, 2 medicine and something that isn't medicine, which means you get 1, 2, and then -1, for a total of 1, which means the crisis has failed. But nobody knows where that pistol came from, except the origin of each item is listed on the cards, allowing you to do a bit of detective work. In one game we played, Paul was the betrayer and was following around another character, going through all the same locations so that always he could put cards into the crisis deck that were wrong, and we would know it was down to one of those 2 players, but not which one. Casting aspersions on other players, making innocent people seem guilty. Now you're playing Dead of Winter.
Well, no, you're not.
No, you're not at all.
I mean, what you are, but you're not. I mean, while all of this sounds fantastic, and is, just as many players are going to appreciate that so many hours of effort have been ploughed and poured into making the story of this game so coherent, making this narratively one of the best board games ever in existence.
In addition to having this plausible situation, a cast of characters with normal jobs like truck driver or mall Santa, you have this.
Janitor. Well, this is the Crossroads deck, and hold on. A lot of games obviously have interesting characters and interesting scenarios for you to put those characters in, and event decks where things happen, but those are kind of like join the dot plots where something happens to you and you kind of rationalize why that's happened and you color in some of the story yourself. But no, the Crossroads deck is entirely different. This enormous deck, look at all these different things that can happen, is context dependent, it's context sensitive. It triggers maybe when Quinns is the player to the right of me. He draws a card from the deck and he looks very closely at that and he watches what I do to see if I trigger it. And I might trigger it by being a certain person who goes to a certain place. Say if the mother goes back to the school, or if the doctor gets to begin her experiments.
Ooh, or if the pilot sees that plane flying overhead.
Don't spoil that. But they're all context dependent, and they're all mini scenarios or vignettes that then occur and then entirely make sense in the context of what you're doing.
So here's something that might confuse you though. You have all this work put into beautiful scenes that are like an entire season's worth of drama in The Walking Dead or something, but then you have characters who are just a dog. A stunt dog, with no special rules, meaning that in our last game, the stunt dog got his hands on a Zippo, burned a crowd of zombies, found the blueprints for the school, and got a book we needed. There's even books in this called Journey into Jazzercise that make your colony fitter. So
from the library.
From the library. So the question is, why would you make one of the darkest games we've ever played? I mean, there are events in here that are to do with players eating, well, and then you undermine it. Why would you do that with comedy, with idiocy? And the answer is, if you've ever played a thematic game like Tales of the Arabian Nights or Arkham Horror, you will know that occasionally the machinery in these games just fails. An event happens with a certain character and it's just laughable. It makes no sense. In Arkham Horror, a person learns the spell they've got to save the world and then dies eating a pickled egg.
Can happen.
It can happen. Whereas what this game does, this is the first storyboard game to preempt the fact that it's going to break.
Silly.
It's just going to be incredibly goofy. In sort of allowing these elements which are funny, it accepts that. It laughs with you as opposed to simply making you laugh at the fact that it's not quite working. And in doing so, just gives the game a kind of dark humour edge.
There's a weird undercurrent to this. But still, so much of the plot just ends up making more sense.
It does.
It's not just burping random events at you.
It's almost like a sort of dark play or something. And it works. And altogether, it's more coherent than I think just about any glossy story game we've ever played.
I found some fuel.
No, you didn't. What did you find?
I actually found some fuel. I found some
fuel. Well, put it in the crisis because we need fuel.
But I need...
No. See, exiled. 3, 2, 1, vote.
No, wait. You can't vote by yourself. That's not how democracy works. That's onanism. And it's all just so delightfully petty. So, like a pessimistic soap opera. There's the most ridiculous things you have to negotiate and do as a group. For example, all the stuff you use in the colony, all the food that you eat, all the fuel you consume, it goes into this waste pile, this junk pile. It becomes trash. If that becomes 10 items or more, colony morale goes down. Nobody wants that to happen. Someone has to clean this up. Someone has to clean it regularly. But nobody wants to do that because that takes a die. That's an action that you could spend blasting zombies through the windows or heading to the police station to find a walkie-talkie or a tactical rifle. Instead, you're cleaning up poop. But someone's got to do it. Or there's the food. You can actually quite selfishly consume food to boost your die rolls. But that's a terrible thing to do because that puts everyone in a difficult situation. But then if you're not cooperating, or if you've done something that looks a bit too suspicious or turning other players off, they don't want to work with you anymore, you might find yourself exiled. But that's not player elimination. That doesn't cut you out of the game. That's actually incredibly awesome because instead you discard your original secret objective and you draw another exiled objective, which is quite different. And your character leaves the colony and now just becomes a weird guy kind of walking around outside doing his own secret weird thing all the time. Which is kind of like, London. But actually, in Dead of Winter, it's a really cool thing to have happen because no one knows what's happening or why you're doing what you're doing or where you've gone to the grocery store and you're just going through all the bins all day, every day, and barricading the windows. And this is an occasion where weird is cool. There's something just operatic in a soap operatic way about Dead of Winter that doesn't happen in any other board game. So you know what we've done?
What have we done?
We meant to do a review of Dead of Winter, but we've done something else instead.
What did we do?
We've just ended up just talking excitedly about it constantly.
Yeah, does that mean that Shut Up and Sit Down basically recommends Dead of Winter? Yeah.
Unequivocally?
Well, I'm just going to... Hang on.
Unequivocating.
One thing that I'm going to say is that it's not necessarily the most reliable game.
Equivocal less. How so?
Well, okay, for a start, the game will double in length if you're playing with 5 players or 3, and it asks if you want to play a short, medium, or long scenario, and you don't know what you want to do. Also, there's only about a 45% chance of there being a betrayer unless you play with the betrayer variant.
Great, okay.
But that
More
means
suspicion.
The game might be easy. So we would recommend play with the betrayer variant and play with the player elimination variant, because the rules in place if someone loses all their characters are kind of shonky. So full betrayers, player elimination... Have a good time.
Or don't and just do it differently.
Why would you tell them to do that?
Just have a... It's flexible.
You can actually play it with a variant where you flip each scenario around to a hardcore version.
Don't do that.
And don't play with a betrayer.
Play it the way that I said, not the way that you said.
Why would you want to do that? Because then it's just a co-op game.
Shall we go and get some food?
Yeah, I'm starving. Literally starving.
I think getting food is a good idea.
I think I'm going to die soon.
I can go by myself and search.
No.
I don't need you to come.
No, it's both.
And I won't make any noise. Is it barricaded?
Oh my... Wait. After we exiled Reference Bear, he must have had a change of heart and helped us barricade our
I'm
place.
sure that's exactly what he...
Oh, wow.
We're much safer now.
What a nice pair.